So that aside, what is often going to pause that process is when the ego starts really freaking out as you make progress in your own personal healing and spiritual journey. Again, whether you realize it or not, the ego still knows. As you make progress, it's going to do what it can to keep you going back into that karma loop. It'll try and play nice guy at first and allow you to continue looking into a little bit, enough for it to collect some more ammo on what it is that's scaring you the most out of what you're learning. And trust me, if you do not think that any of it is scaring you, just you wait. I didn't think I was scared of death. I, for many years, had actively not wanted to be here. I survived trying to not be here. And that didn't shake me up enough to go on this journey. I then survived nearly not being here once again for a totally unrelated reason. And that didn't shake me up enough to take this journey. It wasn't until a couple years later, my next lot of heart-wrenching darkness and everything that followed that I started to take this journey. And I was at such a low point that death would have felt like a blessing. So when my ego, true to form, started to have its panic attack, and I started to sense the impending death and to comprehend the fragility and temporary nature of this system, that the severity of that really started to sink in. And for the first time in a long time, I realized that I actually wanted to be on this earth for a while longer. This phase often leads people to misunderstand the signals that are coming through when all of these stalled traumas and internal tests are coming up and the ego's in a meltdown. The most common thing is that the signals get confused from the ego knowing it's going to die to the being thinking it's going to die, which is one thing, and that's devastating, or the being thinking it wants to die, because all of this internal stuff that has come up, the traumas that we haven't allowed ourselves to fully experience and therefore process and resolve, when they've all started coming up and you're feeling worthless, broken, an absolute emotional wreck, often even accompanied by physical symptoms and headaches, extreme fatigue, body aches, mystery illnesses, flu-like symptoms, clumsiness, nausea, and anything relating to your biological system not being able to properly regulate itself, temperature, emotional mood swings, things like that, any signal confusion, on top of all the emotional stuff, sometimes with a lot of neurological symptoms as well, which can be for a few reasons. We'll get to that another time. And you feel beyond dreadful. There isn't even really words that justify how horrendous this feeling is, that leaves you in such a point of desperation and devastation that you feel like there is just not even a point of continuing this specific, very dark place. Unfortunately, too many times, this often leads to a person becoming institutionalized, either by choice or being forced to seek medical help. And normally it's gotten to a point so severe that they wind up in some sort of mental health facility, having addiction problems, drugs, alcohol, whatever coping mechanism they can use to numb the pain or themselves from feeling and experiencing the trauma, or they take their lives. If they are lucky, like myself, they then live to learn the lessons of that. But whilst they're in that dark place, it won't feel like a blessing. Unfortunately, unfortunately, this is the specific phase that I'm seeing on the increase. There are other beings that serve to benefit from you staying in this phase. It's not just your ego surviving because you don't then take the next step of looking within. There are actively other entities that benefit from the emotional energy generated by you being in that place. Because the emotions that are triggered from you by hearing that song that you just really like, or being in that place so devastating and system shattering, are completely different. So this energy has a lot more weight behind it than this little peak of the song that you like. So everything is an energy exchange, and in my opinion, your energy is the single most important currency that is more expensive than anything you could put a monetary figure on. Then it becomes easier to understand why the vast amounts of emotional energy generated from such an extreme feeling are more beneficial as a power source to those that use this energy, this currency, more than this little good feels a song generates. There is a very intentional reason why a lot of people are kept in darkness. There is a very intentional reason why media, songs, everything in this system is flooding you constantly with messages and signals that will provoke feelings of fear and depression and anxiety and worry, because that generates energy peaks. And a lot of people, at least up until now, have been running mostly on autopilot and reacting rather than responding to all of this external happenings of a very intentionally designed system to generate these emotional responses, these energetically fueled emotional responses. So right now, when the risk of so many people awakening to their true power is extremely high because of the specific crossroads of the timeline that we're at, where there's so many things aligning and external help doing everything possible to facilitate this great awakening so that we can ascend together collectively, then there is a bit of a panic from the counterparts to keep that suppressed, keep that dulled as much as possible. But it's happening to everybody regardless. The best thing that can be done to counter that is to flood the masses with fear, counter quests that are going to distract them from their mission, with misinformation. What we should be flooded with are resources like this, making us all aware of the spiritual process and all that entails, even the hard bits, so that we are more prepared to face these things and understand why we need to go through the traumas that come up and actually work through our stuff, rather than giving our power away to the next external thing or falling into the trap of bypassing and escapism and doing everything we can to get away from the source of that pain. And that includes giving that power away to some things you would think are there to help you to develop the coping tools and go through these traumas, but are actually designed to keep you in victimhood and identified with the traumas that have happened in your life, which should be the catalyst to continuing your spiritual journey, but instead keep you identified with them and with your suffering, but not educating you that at the end of the day, nothing is as it seems and it's all an illusion anyway. It doesn't stop how crappy things can feel, how heart-wrenching experiences can be to go through, but we are not educated about even the basic energetic processes of the human experience to understand how all of these external things affect us. Not to mention the education of why it is so important to go within and to look at anything the system has stored within so that you can continue this unfolding process, the unfurling of your evolutionary journey that we are all destined for. So I'll get back to all of this in another video because there are so many levels to unpack. My main concern is there are so many people that are caught in this really awkward phase between just at the start of a dark night and falling trapped to the ego throwing everything it can to stop you moving forward, or becoming derailed by all of the devastating things that will come up during a dark night, shutting a dark night down before it even starts, before the ego can even really freak out on you, and shutting that process down. And it's understandable. If you are not aware of why this is happening, then of course you would want to do anything to stop it, to feel better. Nobody wants to feel like crap, to have a flood of all of these memories and traumas and things coming up and feeling like they're at a place where they don't even want to be here, where they don't see a point in things anymore. Nobody wants that. In fact, anybody who unfortunately goes to that next stage of they don't feel like there's any point being here, so they enact on not being here anymore, do not realize the karmic consequences of what they're doing, in that we cannot escape any of our lessons. And suicide itself is a form of escapism. It's because you want to stop the pain. It is never because a person wants to die. They just do not want to continue to experience the devastating pain that has led them to the darkness that they are in. But if that becomes the checkout point, they get the same lot of lessons when they return, because they haven't gotten off the wheel of karma yet. That's what reincarnation is. It is the karma wheel that keeps you coming back, having incarnations. And some people think the idea of reincarnation is fantastic. I know there was a time when I did. I didn't see the problem with it. But reincarnation means you have to come back because you haven't learned the lessons or made enough progression to not need a human incarnation anymore. So to drop the body due to those circumstances means you come back and get a new body, very similar circumstances, to learn the lesson that you escaped from in the first place. We have to go through things. We can't escape from them. Please know that absolutely everything that can be brought up to stop you taking that inner journey will be. There is always going to be support. There are an increasing amount of people that understand the spiritual process, and particularly the dark night and everything that entails. A lot of people who claim publicly to be on a spiritual path at this current timeline have done so because it's a bit of a buzz term, and often have fallen prey to spiritual bypassing. Often it's the love and lighters, as they're affectionately known, that haven't yet gone through their darkness, or the people that think they have gone on such a spiritual path of detachment and are just focused on liberation and not getting attached to anything and having a human experience. Often, because they haven't left their bodies, having learned the lessons their soul needs to learn, will reincarnate again to learn the lessons. The only way to truly transcend all of that is to go within, to face that void and everything that stares back, and transmute the fear and the power of anything that you have allowed to repress your divine nature. We have generational programming alone to make sure we do not know our divine nature. We have a fear imprint and a wounding imprint and a persecution imprint, and a big part of why people experience suicidal feelings even has to do with templating of the human system that we are here to transcend. Because when we have done that and healed that and created a new system file that doesn't include that outdated templating, and have gone through our evolutionary journey and returned back to source as that updated energy with our new lessons, then we start to remove that templating from the human experience. And the work that you do now on your inner self, you're doing it for generations to come. You're breaking the generational curses so the next generation doesn't have to. You're transmuting and balancing the karma so the next generation doesn't have to. You're awakening and going through a dark night, which is a superpower on its own, so that the collective can rise. And there is a strategic plan to the people that are awakening, so that we're scattered out everywhere and placed in very strategic positions that we have a knock-on effect to groups around us. And then someone from this group will also then awaken and have a further knock-on effect to people around them. It is reaching a critical mass point for humanity of awakened beings, so that we can ascend together. But the technicalities of that are beside the point. What I am concerned with is this dramatic increase right now of people being stuck in that darkness. My heart drops for all of those people. You are not alone if you feel like this. And if you have a friend or a loved one going through this and know how helpless it feels to watch them, knowing they have to go through it themselves, then you are not alone either. And that takes a lot on both ends. Because it's one thing to go through this. It's another to know what it's like and watch people you love go through it. And that is something not a lot of people talk about in the spiritual communities. I want everybody to go through a spiritual journey. There is a bunch of people out there encouraging everybody to go on this really awesome journey of awakenings and not feeling the empathy and knowing of the fact that what they're saying is they want you to go through a system shattering amount of darkness so that you can transcend. It is now the time for new beginnings, to set in motion what you want to see coming to fruition within the next 2 weeks. It is a setting the ball in motion time for the full moon, when the next energies are peaking. The biggest theme is letting go. A large portion of people who have been in that dark place very recently that I've just spoken about are going to start letting go of some of that darkness. And when you start to let go of something, you create the space for new energy to come in. This is crucial to allow this process to happen for further changes that are coming until the end of next month. My best advice at this point is to head down, bum up, get through as much of your inner work as you can, ideally before the full moon, around the 25th of this month, which is going to be a lunar eclipse. And we then have a solar eclipse for the next new moon, as well as some other interesting stuff happening. So it's going to be a pretty insane period, really amplified energies and what these phases normally represent, and especially in the next couple of weeks, how you approach leading in is going to play out dramatically. It would be a really good idea to approach it from a place of accepting the transformative mission that you are currently on, and bonus points if you're actively reaching out and trying to work with the energy forms or gods and goddesses that are associated with these phases that are there to help you tap into source energy that you already are. But these tools these sonic keys are there to help. And from a witchy perspective, there is a lot that can be done that I will be posting about for clearing and moving through these stored core memories and emotions, and severing energy attachments and plugging your energy leaks, reclaiming and standing in your power so that you are able to continue with your spiritual journey and being the incredible spiritual warrior I know you are. So how do you plan on setting intentions for the coming full moon and what you want to see manifesting in your own reality? Has part of this video resonated with you? And are you personally experiencing that dark place or witnessing somebody you love going through it? Do you have something to share with other people going through this darkness, especially those newer to their awakening journey, that helped you to traverse this inner landscape and all of its rocky twists and turns to find your true path? I'd love to hear from you. Please do not think you have to face darkness alone. And if you're suffering to see your way clear of this darkness, or the reasons why you need to push through it, and how you are in control of that process and giving away power to unnecessary external influences, and need help reclaiming your power and divine sovereignty, then please reach out. You have so much support available to you and a massive team of people, both incarnated and not, that are rooting for you to push through this and stand in your power, embodying the gifts you came here to share with the world. You are here for a reason. You are a very important person on the human team. We need you to keep pushing through and helping those around you do the same, knowing that this is a very testing time, and the closer you get towards your goals and standing fully in your power, the more you are going to be tested, the more you will face resistance. Take it as a sign that you're doing a damn good job, and know that there are people like myself that are proud of you for doing that, even on your darkest days, and especially when you don't feel like there is anything to be proud of yourself for. I look forward to spending some more time together and delving even deeper into these topics. Things like this should be a normal conversation. Nobody should feel broken or alone. So know you are amazing. And this game, this human incarnation, is one of the most intentionally testing ones that you will go through. This human incarnation gives you the chance to spiritually evolve more rapidly than you know. There is a light to all of this darkness, I promise you. And there is always, always a reason to push through just that little bit more. And your track record is pretty good so far, even on the darkest days. So keep it up. Know I'm here. There is a divine plan to all of this. Until next time, please stay safe. Know you are appreciated and you are necessary, and reach out. And I hope you take the opportunity to usher in a renewed sense of strength and gratitude for this journey and even your darkness, knowing that ultimately it will reveal your biggest gifts, and we need them. So for now, blessed be.